Animation Talk, Dark Snow White. I believe everyone has heard of the story of Snow White. A beautiful princess who, with the help of 7 dwarfs, ultimately defeats her wicked stepmother. What an inspiring fairy tale, right? But what if I told you that the original Snow White story wasn't as idyllic as it seems? Would you still believe in fairy tales? In the original version of the fairy tale, it wasn't her stepmother who wanted to kill Snow White. It was her own biological mother. Just because Snow White was beautiful, her own mother wanted to put her to death. Do you really think this is just a fairy tale? No, no, no. In fact, during that time in European courts, there were countless incidents of parents harming their own children. And what about the 7 dwarfs? In the fairy tale, they are introduced as minors. Considering the European background at that time, there were indeed a group of minors called poor dwarfs. However, these poor dwarfs were all children and slaves. Their small stature made it easier for them to work in narrow mine tunnels. But after spending a long time in the mines, many of them gradually developed limb deformities. Furthermore, in the original Snow White story, it wasn't the prince's kiss that woke her up after being poisoned. It was when the prince carried Snow White's body back to the palace that she herself coughed up the poison apple. The ending of the original Snow White is the darkest. After Snow White regains power, she makes the queen wear iron shoes that have been heated red hot. This causes the queen to continuously jump to alleviate the pain, eventually leading to her death. From this perspective, Snow White is not a kind-hearted woman either. But with all the experiences she went through, who can claim to maintain kindness? Moreover, in the power struggles of European courts, one cannot survive without being ruthless. In reality, the original Grimm fairy tales were a reflection of a dark society. Many of these fairy tales allegorically addressed social issues of that time. What you see today is the content of fairy tales that have been adapted and modified. So, it's just a fairy tale after all. Have you truly understood Snow White now? In this vast world, there is no shortage of wonders. That's all for today's story. See you in the next episode.